This is the first talk on A Course in Miracles, and you're going to hear a lot of things in these talks that you will not hear anywhere else. And the only reason I say that is because I don't see them anywhere else. In all of the course material and all of the stuff that's on the internet and all of the teachers that I've had and all the teachers that I see in videos, I don't hear anybody talking about a lot of this stuff. And that's because the course is not easy to understand. And yet, all of this stuff is in the course. If it isn't, I'll say it isn't. But most of this stuff that's in the course is not easy to understand. Maybe not most of it, but a lot of it's not easy to understand because the course does not say, okay, here's this subject, and I'm going to explain it in a linear fashion on one page, and that'll be the end of it. The course instead gives references to one idea throughout the entire book. So in order to really understand the concept totally, you have to read the entire book and then piece it together. And so the more you read the course, the more you understand about what it's trying to say, because the course is not written like a regular book. It's written so that every time you read it, you're in a different place. It brings you to another level. It takes you on a spiral, an upward spiral journey of learning. First time you read the course and you use all those sticky notes to put in there and you highlight it, the second time you read it, all those highlights and sticky notes don't mean anything to you anymore because you're not the same person. You've moved on. The course has taken you to another level. And so there is one elephant in the room of A Course in Miracles teaching. And I'm going to emphasize again, this is not A Course in Miracles. This is life. This is what is here in front of us. This is what's going on in front of us. And the Course in Miracles lays it out. And if you don't accept this elephant in the room, then the Course is not going to work for you. So what I'm asking is, when you hear it, your immediate reaction is going to be to reject it. And if you're a Course student, you already know what this is. If you haven't heard this before, my request is not for you to reject it. It is for you to at least keep an open mind to it. Because if you do, it will turn your world upside down. It will change your life from top to bottom. And I mean that, seriously. Here it is. The first important thing, the most important thing to understand about A Course in Miracles. This life is a dream. It doesn't exist. It's an illusion. Now, the Course isn't the first writing to say this. It's been around for a long time. But the Course is the first source to explain it in a way that makes incredible sense. It really makes sense when you think about it. Not only does it make sense, but it's the answer that I've been looking for my entire life, and I didn't even realize it. When I first heard that this was a dream, that this was an illusion, that this doesn't exist, and therefore I don't exist, it made me very angry. For the first 2 years after I heard that, I was just angry, and I was waiting to vent my anger on course teachers. But I didn't, and I kept thinking about it. I kept thinking about it because something inside of me compelled me to keep thinking about it. And after 2 years, I started thinking about it more seriously, and the more I thought about it, the more it started to make sense to me. And the idea that this, the way I have been thinking, is real, started to fade. Because the more I started to think about it, the more the Course made sense. And my previous thinking didn't. Now, this is an individual decision. I believe we'll all come to it someday because it's true. It's just that's the way it is. But it's a very hard concept to accept. Even if you say you accept it intellectually or you think you understand it, this is a dream? Are you kidding me? It's a very hard thing to understand. So, let me explain how this all started. The Course says that God creates by extension. In other words, God doesn't say, well, here's a thing, and now I'm going to create another thing over here. God says, I'm going to create from myself and extend myself, and so that God is now bigger. God extends. He creates by extending. So he created the Son of God, an extension of himself, an extension of his mind, giving all the power of his mind to the Son of God. And the Son of God, upon his creation, thought, I would like to be special. And God said, well, you can't be special, because special means different. Special means that that there have to be multiple things for one thing, and that you would have to put them in a hierarchy, and therefore you'd have to judge them, and you'd have to decide which one is better or worse. And that doesn't work for God, because love is all-encompassing and equal and non-judgmental. And so God said simply no. And so, God said the idea of specialness doesn't fit into love, and therefore doesn't fit into the body of God. It goes against creation. It goes against the truth. So the Son of God said, well, and this is a very mind-blowing concept, well then, I would like to know what it's like not to be God. And God said, well, whatever, because God doesn't care. The Son of God can think whatever he wants. And this is called the tiny mad idea in the Course, and it means that the Son of God decided to break off from God only in his mind, only as a thought, not in truth, and discover what specialness meant, or separation. Now, where did that come from? Why did that come up? Well, the Course tells us that too, but it doesn't say it directly and it doesn't say it obviously. But it says that there's this problem of authorship. In other words, God created the Son. The Son did not create the Father. The Son is charged with creating his own creations, to carry on the extension. But the Son is interested in, well, wait a minute, I want to be the Father. And the Father said, well, I'm the Father. You can't be the Father. So the Son said, well, I want to understand what it's like to be the Father. And that's where this idea of specialness came, because for some reason, God creates the Son, who is somehow very, very slightly different than the Son. He's not the Father, he's the Son. So the Son, in wanting to be special, just is examining the idea of differences. What is this tiny difference between the Father and the Son? Well, the Son of God said, I want to examine differences ad nauseum. I want to see what the heck differences are. What is a difference? I mean, if we're different, then I want to be the Father. I want to see what it's like to be the Father. And of course, since God could not allow that within the body of God, the Son of God had to say, well, then I will experience not God. So, the Son fell asleep. Part of the Son, a very, very tiny part of the Son of God, fell asleep to the truth of who he really was. And the reason he fell asleep and dreamt about this separation is because in order to really, truly experience the idea of not being God, the Son of God had to forget that he was God. He had to forget it. If there still was a memory that he maintained somewhere, then he wouldn't really be understanding what it's like not to be God. He would just be playing. He would just be pretending. So in order to really experience not being God, he fell asleep to who he really was. So, in order for specialness to be experienced, as I said earlier, there had to be two things. There had to be a thing here and a thing here. And in order for those two things to be special, they had to be different. So the Son of God had to create things. Well, what's a thing? Well, I don't know. And in order for these things to exist, they had to exist in a place that would accommodate these things. Well, what's a place? I don't know. We'll make it up. We'll make it up as we go along. So the Son of God created a space where things could exist. And in this space, one thing over here and one thing over here could not occupy the same space at the same time. And in order for one thing to occupy two spaces, it had to move there over time. So time was another concept that was built into this idea of time and space. So now the Son of God is experiencing separateness. Now, what is exactly separateness? Well, the truth is that the Son of God is still part of God, and only a very tiny part of him fell asleep to this. And in order to experience specialness, he created a thought of specialness. Now, the Son of God is nothing more than a thought. God himself is nothing more than a thought. There are only thoughts. So, on top of himself, the Son of God created millions and billions and gazillions and quadrillions of tiny thoughts that layered on top of the truth. One thought that he created was called the ego. And it wasn't one thought, it was billions and billions of thoughts. And the ego is a thought that the Son said, okay, here's specialness. I'm going to give you your own DNA, your own social security number, a name, and you're going to be different from all the other DNA, social security number, name blobs of thought out there that I've created. And therefore, you will be special, and you won't remember who you really are. You will think that you are this thought. You will think that you are this ego, and you will be on your own, and this world that I've created, I'm the Father. I created it. So there is no God. There can be a God. You can make a God if you want. You can decide what you want to believe. You can decide anything. You can say there is no God. You can say science is God. You can say there's a God with horns growing out of his head. You can say anything you want. Doesn't matter. Because whatever you believe is true for you within this context of specialness, of separation. So, God doesn't care. God noticed that there was something wrong, that there was a disturbance in the force, and so he did something about it, which I'll talk about later. And it's a very profound thing that he did. But the first thing I want to talk about is, well, if this is a dream, if this is an illusion, how do we know it's an illusion? Well, that's a very hard thing to grasp because this is all we know. It's all we know. So how could there be anything else? We give it so much importance because it's all we know. We give it so much importance. But here's how you can tell. And this is one of the things that that came out of my 5 years of thinking about this. It took me only 5 years to think about this one thing. Here's the one thing. There are actually two things, but here's the first and most significant part of why we think this is real and why we don't understand it's a dream. Think about this. This dream is absolutely consistent. Every day you wake up and you know exactly what's going on. You're a tiny bit older. The world went around in a circle. The news happened on the other side of the planet. It snowed overnight. Abraham Lincoln is still the 16th president. No matter how many days go by, he's always going to be the 16th president. All of the things that we discovered in the past, we still see, we still know, we remember them in our minds. All those things in the past that happened, we build on, we create new things from them. We say, hey, this is a great idea. Remember, we figured this out. And then somebody else comes along and says, yes, but now we can go to the next level with it. And it's always consistent. It's always consistent. You can depend on it. You absolutely are certain that this is true because it's consistent. If this world, if this universe started behaving like the Twilight Zone, where all of a sudden you had a 16-foot boulder in your living room one morning, you would start to get suspicious that something was wrong. Things would get wonky, and you would stop believing in this because of its consistency. And that's because the Son of God built into this world laws that it operates on. The laws of physics, the laws of nature. The Son of God created billions and quadrillions of little pieces of things, subatomic particles, and they all conform to the laws of physics every day, every second of every day, consistently. Now, there might be a lot of stuff going on there that we don't understand, but as far as we're concerned, everything makes sense. It's all consistent. It never fails. And that consistency means you can be a doctor because you've got all this knowledge that you got in school. All that knowledge was from the past, from all of those other people. That knowledge is consistent. And we've thrown out a lot of it because we realized over time that it wasn't true, and we built on it, and we got new and better ideas. And so now you can be a doctor with all that acquired knowledge from all those years in the past. It doesn't just apply to doctors. It applies to absolutely every profession and every person every second of every day. The past is what you have built your life on, and it's consistent. It's all there. Now, there's a problem with this because the past doesn't exist, and neither does the future. And we have built everything about this life based on the past. We believe in the past. We believe in the consistency of the past. Unfortunately, it's not true. There's also no future. There is only now. But in order for us to really understand that there's a now and not a future or a past, we have to let go of the past. That's a very hard thing to do because that also means letting go of yourself and letting go of this life and letting go of the tiny thought that you are as an ego. Because your ego only knows what it knows based on the past. There's one other way we know this is a dream, and unfortunately, we can't use it right now. The way you know you're in a dream is by waking up to it. Once you wake up, you look back on it and you say, oh, that was a dream. Well, that's going to happen to all of us. It happens to your dreams at night, but the only way it's going to happen to us now is if we let go of the dream, is if we let go of this dream, if we let go of the importance of this dream. Now, what I'm saying when I say this is a dream, or what the Course is saying when it says it's a dream, is that nothing is important here because it's a dream. Do you understand what that really means? If you understand that this is a dream, that means that nothing matters here. The only thing that matters is the exit strategy. The only thing that matters is what you do, what you think, to get out of the dream. All the things, all the striving for happiness, for money, for relationships, for whatever else you're striving for, it's so unimportant. And I'll talk about that later too. But right now, you have to understand that this is a dream. It's the elephant in the room. Think about it. Please don't reject it. Think about it. Think about it a lot. Because if this is a dream, that means there's something else beyond the dream. Most of us aren't aware of it. Most of us have no idea that there's something else beyond the dream. Now, we have psychics, we have people who dream prophetic dreams, we have all kinds of instances during our lives where strange things happen that don't seem consistent, but not enough to draw us out of the dream. But maybe they should. Maybe they should start making you think that there's something beyond this life, something beyond this dream, because this is a dream. I'll talk more about this later.